Let's talk about the language in this video and how it relates to the things that we've been talking about. We talk a lot on the show about how other cities, when their downtown becomes a thing, the rest of the city's real estate goes way up. It's like an inflection point in the trajectory of real estate appreciation, of historical home price appreciation. What we know from the data is that when a downtown urban core comes online and it becomes an around-the-clock live, work, play thing, that real estate values all around that go up astronomically. We've seen it in Nashville, we see it in Charlotte, we see it in Denver, we see it in all these different places, that it's not that you need to get in on downtown, but that you need to own real estate in that city when that happens. So on the show, naturally, we talk a lot about the future of downtown and how it's right at this brink of becoming something and making Jacksonville a completely different city that we talk about in the next 3 to 5 years. And the idea that people that can get in right now on the workforce housing side in 5 years may not have the chips.
Right.
So let's talk about the language in the video that is also talking about this. The video early on talks about a urban destination, right? Talks about an urban destination. Oh, Roberto Madero is saying 100%. We saw that in San Diego. San Diego is another example of a downtown that was dormant, came online. Now forget about buying a
rental property there.
Yeah. So it talks about early on building an urban destination. That's what we're talking about. This idea that if people live, work, play, and hang out in downtown, that starts that flywheel. It talks about, it says the nation noticing the growing workforce, the robust healthcare, that we are arriving. We talk about a well-balanced economy of Jacksonville being something that is very, very attractive for companies to move their headquarters here, for people that live in like in the Zoom world to move here and feel, and that is also risk mitigation, right? The logistics, healthcare, fintech, military.
Yeah, financial.
And financial services, like being a big one. It talks about connecting neighborhoods to the waterfront, urban connectivity. This is essentially what you all have been doing. Like you have been building and developing around the urban core in order to connect all these things. And once this flywheel happens for you, the 5,000 properties that JWB manages around the urban core, there's this economies of scale that happens that creates this connectivity, makes these neighborhoods a better place. Another thing that we talked about. So we talk a lot about Nashville, right? They're talking about festivals and events in the stadium, particularly bringing the NFL draft to downtown.
How many times have I talked about Nashville hosting the NFL draft and that being like a pinnacle of their arrival?
Yeah.
Like it's the same terminology that we've been talking about in this video.
Same terminology, right? So if you are talking about the appreciation rate in Nashville, go look at Nashville downtown, go look at the properties all around downtown, even all the way to Franklin, Tennessee these days.
I got a data point to share with you.
Tell me about that.
I texted this to you like a week ago. I went and I started to look at the data to see how much more some of these cities that have had these renaissances for their downtowns have appreciated over the last 10 years. So I ran the numbers for Austin, Tampa, and Nashville. I chose those 3 cities. And wouldn't you know that over the last 10 years, those 3 cities have seen 23% more home price appreciation than the national average.
23% more home price appreciation than the national average in these cities that have created this downtown experience.
Absolutely. So there you go. You want to be a part of a growing downtown. That is one of the, choosing a higher than normal home price region, a higher than normal home price appreciation region is important. Jacksonville happens to be one of those, right? We have 25% more home price appreciation here over the last 40 years than your typical cash flow markets. That's like standard.
What's the national average, Kelly's asking?
It was 8%. So it was the appreciation rate for those 3 cities was right around 10%. And the average appreciation over the entire country was about 8%.
Okay, got it.
So if you want to see what the biggest impacts to your growth are of your portfolio, it's not, did you get an extra $25 a month of cash flow, right? It's not, was the home price, $10,000 less or $20,000 less than somewhere else. The biggest impact you can have is this a market that over the next 10 years, 20 years is going to grow more in terms of home price appreciation. Because at the end of a cycle, looking at your investment, the biggest piece of the pie of your overall returns will be home price appreciation. So if you can choose a city that historically grows more than others, that's the best thing you can do. But that's the first step. If you have insight, like we are sharing here about a change agent in that market that is setting it up to have higher than normal home price appreciation, even for that market, that is like investing in wealth building on steroids, right? This is like if Jacksonville was to win the award for having Amazon's second HQ.
Yeah.
Remember when every city in America wanted to be the destination for building the Amazon HQ too? And why did they want that? It's because the economics that follow that and the home price and the rent price growth, that cities were looking at that and they're like, oh man, we want to be a part of this. There's an economic impact that is there. It's a similar thing when you're talking about what's going on in downtown Jacksonville right now. And it's made up between the Jags stadium deal, Shad's shipyards renovation, the 20 blocks that JWB is developing downtown, plus all of these other developers that are too numerous for me to name here. That's the type of impact that we're talking about. And that's the best thing you can do for your return on investment, right? Hit your wagon to something like that.
Yeah, totally. So like this idea, so the one thing that you also didn't mention is this idea that if the curve is going to bend, like the appreciation rate curve is going to bend like it's done in these other cities based on historical repetitive patterns that happen once in a generation, sometimes in a city. You also didn't bring up the idea that, oh, and by the way, JWB's neighborhoods have appreciated 79% more than the average Jacksonville neighborhood. And this fallacy that everybody thinks it's like these expensive neighborhoods that are going to appreciate the most. Maybe even downtown isn't what appreciates the most exactly, but these JWB neighborhoods have proven to have higher than the local home price appreciation, and that's been strategic based on your data flywheel as well.
It's not where you would expect to necessarily see the type of growth, but that's why our clients work with us to place their money where it should be. You may be looking at downtown and saying, oh, wow, I love this video. I want to buy everything downtown, but I know that there's better places for you to put your money than right next to downtown right now for a better risk-adjusted return. Just like I knew for the last 17 years, there was a better place to put your money in these workforce housing neighborhoods, as we put it, better place to put your money than going and buying necessarily in above middle income neighborhoods.
Yep. So that's chatwithjwb.com. And you want to have that conversation, right? Like you want to get into these workforce neighborhoods that have shown to historically appreciate more when everything else good is happening. We know that the bend is about to happen here in Jacksonville.